Making stuff is hard.
Especially in the entertainment world.
Where big egos, bigger budgets,
And just plain bad luck
can make things go horribly wrong.
and we're going behind the scenes of these disastrous
never-ending.
And often dangerous productions.
to find out why.
It was a shit show. What's up, dog?
Oh my God, no. I'm done. End of podcast.
Hey, we're on camera. And this
Yeah.
is all work in progress. We're working on it. It does this. I'm sure behind me looks like fucking insanity.
This is high quality soundproofing. Okay, this is like top notch.
Yeah, the more
expensive.
the more flammable it is, the higher
Yeah.
quality it is.
Exactly.
I want to know that this operation could be just done with
This could-
immediately.
With a flick of a match, like, you know what, I'm done.
This whole room could go up in flames at any moment.
I just gotta say that I am very proud of you two for taking this leap of being in front of the camera, because I've been ready.
Yeah, you've been talking about it nonstop.
No, I think
Put me on there.
Oh my God, the people need to see my face.
they need to know
They need to see what I look like.
look like.
Because you cannot find you anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
Not anywhere.
I've been waiting for this. Now they know what I look like.
Well, I'm Ian, joined by Clint
Hello.
and Ray.
Ow!
This is It Was a Shit Show. For this, this is our first video podcast. Episode. We're gonna see how this goes. See if we even enjoy this. If we enjoy cutting to Clint's face or not. I don't know.
I mean, I
yes,
guess
you-
if anything, we can just stay on Clint's face the whole
Yeah,
time.
let's
Yeah,
just do that.
let's
We'll
do that.
just
Just
be-
like cut into.
We'll get my
close-up on him.
reactions.
yeah.
Oh.
And then we'll just be on the sides
With subtitles. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for our podcast listeners, don't worry. For the time being, we'll keep audio as an option.
That's a great.
Like we'll eventually
Audio is
phase.
always an option.
We'll phase eventually to just straight video. We'll learn sign language and then we'll.
Ooh.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. So then it'll be a fully visual medium.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, let's do this though. All right. With the release of the new Wolfman remake this past weekend, actually, I figured why not look back at the last time they remade the Wolfman. So today, let's talk the Oscar-winning film,
No.
The Wolfman.
Which Oscar? I demand to know. Are we going to find out later?
Some dude named Oscar was just like,
He's
I
like-
really like this movie.
2 thumbs up. Love the Wolfman. Benicio del Toro. It's great. Yeah. It's a winner in my book.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
I thought we were going to do transformation. We actually built stuff for a transformation. It was a weird film in so many ways. It seemed like we were the only people that wanted to be working in a movie called The Wolfman. I mean, I think everybody else was embarrassed that they were working in a movie called The Wolfman.
Really?
Yeah. And they would do things. The production manager called me into the office once and said, what is this? Why are you buying all this hair? What is this hair for? I go, seriously? Why do you need this hair? And he had behind his desk, he had a big sign that said Wolfman. And I went and covered it up, and I covered up the wolf part with my hands and go, right now we have this, a man. I'm going to make him a wolf man, and I need hair for that. So why do you need hair? Because wolves have fur. It's like, what the fuck? I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you,
Okay. Clint.
Yes.
If you're new to the podcast, this is the section where Clint's going to show off some random junk
Random junk.
that he either 3D printed for today or
No,
or
actually-
he already had.
I already
in
have.
his hoarding collection.
So as you may or may not know, I'm a huge fan of Universal monster movies.
I would
not be surprised.
Yeah.
So my wonderful partner Lisa, she goes to yard sales all the time and finds me some epic rad shit. So I
Nice.
have 1997's Universal Monsters Postal Service stamp pins. So
Damn.
they're specifically one here for the Wolfman. So they're all still in their
race
packaging
fan?
too. So there's the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, yeah. That's
There's
awesome.
Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Mummy, and then the Wolfman. Yeah, so Lisa found these, and when you said we're doing Wolfman, I was like, I got something Wolfman.
Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then the two Boris Karloff, Frankenstein's Monster, and The Mummy.
are cool.
There you go.
These do factor into today's show, so
The post office does?
The post office.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's get back to the Wolfman. Okay, so spoilers if for the original movie, the original 1941 movie, and the one we're going to be talking about. Full spoilers on it. Okay, so the original 1941 film, The Wolfman, 2 words.
The wolf, comma, man. Was it like beat? It was like beat poetry.
Wolf, man.
Wolfman.
Snaps.
I'm Harry.
I'm scary. This is a beat poetry podcast. Now deal with it.
Oh boy. Guys, I'm on the first bullet point. All right. Okay, so it's the same basic outline of the remake, following Larry Talbot returning to his home to bury his brother, becomes a werewolf, goes on a few rampages. These rampages are like killing one person, right?
Yeah.
Like one a night.
That's hardly a rampage.
Yeah. I demand more.
That's a Thursday night.
Yeah.
His loving father doesn't believe him that he is a werewolf and ends up killing the Wolfman, only to discover that it was his son.
Okay.
So
I remember that.
the film was not a big hit, and it took years before it became like the cult classic that it is now. Okay, jumping to the remake. This will all come back. We'll all come back to some of that stuff. Okay. The remake was announced in March of 2006 with Benicio del Toro starring and producing, as Del Toro was a massive fan of the Universal monsters and loves the original. The first script was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. He did Seven and then Sleepy Hollow at this point, which was, and then the script was much more violent and more action oriented.
More violent?
More violent.
Okay.
If you can believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was rewritten by David Self. He did The Haunting. Weird connection, because we just talked about that recently.
I saw him come up in the credits and I was like, that name looks familiar. Like I wondered if he was someone.
I also talk about him in the Born Identity video because he did a rewrite that Matt Damon really didn't like.
Okay.
This is the Haunting, the one that I said I liked.
With Owen Wilson?
Yeah.
And then we were
okay.
like, you don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh, yeah. I don't
so
like
easily
it.
swayed.
Okay. Yeah.
He also did Road to Perdition, which is one of my favorite movies. He developed the characters some more, and including making the father not so loving, kind of like that, the twisting the idea from the original
Making him
movie.
more like withholding and stern.
I'm truly glad you're back, Lawrence. Doesn't seem like it, Dad.
So good.
Yeah. That's just say to my kids when they come back after they're grown up and out of the house, they're like, very glad to have you back, Quinn.
And he's like, oh, my God, so withholding.
Blow out a candle. Why was he holding a candle?
Why is he always like
Lights are already on.
Why is he always in the shadows and then he leans forward into the light for emphasis?
Like,
How was school?
he has to like figure out how to make that work. He's sitting there like holding his hand, going, okay, so if I stand right here, yeah I'm in the light. Okay, here we go. All right, wait for him to come in. Really cool shot, by the way.
That is a good one.
Okay, so in February of 2007, Universal hired Mark Romanek to direct. This would be his third movie. He had previously written and directed 1 Hour Photo in 2002, the Robin Williams movie.
thriller. Yeah.
Cool movie. But before that, he did Static in 1985.
So there was a gap.
Huge gap.
there.
And this is 2007 from 2002. So another huge gap.
How does that work? Like,
Well, I literally have a note here that Romanek has an entire list on Wikipedia of unrealized projects.
Oh, so he would like get hired to direct something and then like develop it and then that project would go away.
Exactly. Okay. Rewind. Before 1981, there was no Academy Award for Best Makeup. And only twice were Special Achievement Awards given at the Oscars to makeup artists. One of which was...
This is before 1981?
Yes. We've talked about it. Heavy makeup movie. The original...
Pod People, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
yeah.
So the award was created in 1981. And the first movie to receive that Oscar was... extremely related.
A Dracula movie.
A
Wolfman's movie.
The Howl? No. An American Werewolf in London.
An American Werewolf in London. With makeup by
Ricky Baker.
Ricky Baker. Rick Baker.
Landis directed it.
Yes. Rick Baker. Yeah. So he was the first person to win that Oscar. Okay.
That's a good movie. Have you seen like the Werewolf trans?
Of course. Because it's kind of like that.
I've never seen that movie.
It's a good movie.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I feel like we watched it once.
Nope, I don't think so.
I feel like we have.
I feel like you're probably right, but
yeah,
I'm not going to admit
that. So the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London is always kind of like, it became like the quintessential thing that you have to, if you're going to do a transformation, it's got to be as good as that, right? And so Rick Baker immediately wants in on this remake. And of course, he's a huge fan of the Universal monsters. It's the reason he got into makeup. Like, he saw those movies and he was like, I want to make monsters. Like, he was so into that. He was hired alongside makeup supervisor David Elsey. Baker wanted to honor the horror movies that those Universal horror movies that makeup artist Jack Pierce did, and he did the Wolfman. And so he wanted to do that same kind of thing, but kind of like make it his own. He wanted to honor that and make it his own. When he first met with Del Toro on the design, Del Toro brought with him, again, fan, Del Toro brought with him his VHS copy of the 1941 film.
Oh my God, who is he, Clint?
Del Toro's closet.
And he has the thing, he's like, I want this.
Yeah.
And so their visions aligned.
Okay.
They're like, okay, yeah, cool, we're on the same page.
He's like, I want to pay homage, but I want to make it like new and interesting. Bro, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And then they just hugged it out.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Yeah.
I got my wolf hand too.
11 months of development later. 11 months.
Wow.
That's a long
In
time.
late January 2008, 1 month before filming was set to begin, director Mark Romanek left due to...
Creative differences.
He did not want to pay homage.
Yeah.
like,
He was like,
Yeah.
but what if he's not a wolf man? And they're just like, that's the title of the movie.
It was like a husky man.
I just went, I went to this
What if he
play
was just
called
a
Cats.
Catman.
Catman.
Yeah, cats are really interesting right now. Feeling really good about cats.
Yes. So he left, and 1 month before they were set to film. Now, Universal wanted the film to be shot in 80 days, and Romanek wanted an additional 20. So he wanted more budget. He wanted more time to work on the movie. At the time, the budget per Universal was $85 million, with $15 million in tax cuts. So, $100 million movie.
Okay.
So it's going to be a huge movie. Okay. Clint, you're going to be our Mark Romanek. This is why he left.
What I was trying to do and thought I was invited to do, and that Benicio and I were trying to do together, was infuse a balance of cinema in a popcorn movie scenario. When there's a certain amount of money involved, these things make studios and producers a little nervous, and we could never come to an agreement on the right balance for that type of thing. Ultimately, it made more sense for them to find a director that was going to fulfill their idea of the film that they wanted, and we just sort of parted ways.
I like how he just says, we just sort of parted ways. You know, all the craftsmen and the thousands of people that were going to work on the movie no longer have a job, but, you know, we just parted ways. He's so flippant.
Do they like? Well, so when a director leaves, does he like take his crew with him? Like, does the new director hire like a whole ass new crew?
No, I
usually?
mean it really depends on what you're doing, right? So like if they shot in London, right? And so they probably had to hire a crew that was ready for it, whether you're talking about extras or just drivers, whatever it is, all those people now need to look for another job.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
And whether or not the cinematographer is hired to, take control of those particular people, whatever it is. So
All the people who were hired to do the Catman makeup were like, fuck.
I mean, everybody that was making costumes, everybody that helps build the sets, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they're initially going off of like what the director's approving of,
Yeah.
right? So then if they part ways due to creative difference, it's like, well, fuck, now.
Well, and now your job for the next few months is not a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
It's on hold.
Yeah, and so until you find another production, but it was like, oh, that's what I was planning to do. That was, and those are below the line people. That's their job.
Yeah,
like,
He was like, I wanted to do what Baz Luhrmann did for Romeo and Juliet and set this in like Venice Beach. But
It's an American Wolfman in Venice Beach.
yeah.
Wolfman.
I wanted to have him in rollerblades.
Surf's up, bro.
Yeah, Wolf bro.
I thought we were paying homage to Teen Wolf.
Yeah. Romanek went on to direct 2010's Never Let Me Go, which is the last movie he has directed. So he has not done anything since.
Okay.
He's done
Since
a few
2010.
TV episodes, but again, he has a whole list of things he never, like he was involved with like the Wolverine.
Yeah, because he wanted to set in like some Venice Beach.
Surf's up, bro. It's like,
Carving ice sculptures.
Yeah.
yeah. Making sandcastles with his claws.
Yep.
Okay. Universal's like, we have this all set up. Like, we can't just ditch this, right? So, 2 days after his departure, Universal meets with the following directors: Martin Campbell, who just did Casino Royale, Bill Condon, who did Dreamgirls, Frank Darabont, who just did The Mist, James Mangold, who just did 3:10 to Yuma, Joe Johnston, who just did Hidalgo, and before that,
Oh no, we talked.
come on, 2x4,
Oh, Jurassic Park 3.
Jurassic Park 3.
Yes.
And the front runner,
And they were like, we're not really into the whole director's 2x4 approach.
Yeah.
That's not how we like to run our sets here on the Wolfman.
or talking animals.
Yeah, yeah.
they
our
prefer
style.
a director's tug toy. And the front runner, Brett Ratner.
Remember when he used to be a front runner?
I know, right? So, being a producer, but Del Toro did have director approval. But also going on at the same time was the 2008 writer's strike. And it was still going. So any director that signed on would not have an ability to do any rewrites.
Oh.
So there's pros and cons to that. It's like,
Right.
just take what you have and run with it, right? Versus a director is like, well, I mean, like, it's my movie now. Like, how do I change that, like, to be what I kind of want?
Could they be like, I want you to improvise, but improvise this specifically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't write it.
Nothing was written down. No typing. No pens.
Not a scab. So, additionally, production would not be delayed. 1 month.
Okay.
Okay.
Filming would start on March 3rd, and the film would release November 14th, 2008. That's the deal.
Regardless.
So, 2 days later, Joe Johnston gets chosen because of his enthusiasm for the original. He loves the Universal horror films, and because of his versatile body of work.
And
So-
the 2x4.
And his 2x4 when he's just sitting there
Yeah.
meeting with them.
It'd be a shame if you didn't hire me for your movie.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a shame for your kneecaps.
It'd be a shame for those kneecaps. They look really, really nice. Hate to see them broken.
Yeah, no amount of special effects makers from Rick Baker's gonna be able to fix that.
Actually, it'll make him look like the dog legs.
The dog leg,
where
yeah.
they're bent backwards. Okay, so Johnston has 3 weeks to prepare.
Woof.
Woof.
Woof, literally, woof.
But a lot of the legwork has already been done
Yeah.
by Mark Romanek. Okay. So Jenny Ray, you're going to be our
Yes.
Joe Johnston
Okay.
today. As with all Joe Johnston, just as much as I found on Jurassic Park 3, the man loves to fucking talk and he's fucking candid.
All right.
And so he really
Let's get
gives
into
you
it.
all the information you need. Okay, so this is him about coming in late in the game.
They had gone down a certain road with the production design and concept, and I have to say, in Mark Romanek's defense, he made a lot of the correct choices. He had set the ship off in a good direction, but I wanted to put my stamp on the film.
Several days later, after Johnston is hired, the writer's strike ended on February 17th. So Johnson quickly had David Self, who did the rewrite, come back and do another quick rewrite before filming began. So this is Johnston about the original schedule.
I told Universal I could do it in 80 days, but after I was hired, we soon added about 17 pages back to the script. So that schedule no longer applied.
Wow. Okay.
That's so much extra work. 17 pages?
17 pages?
That's
a
a
long
long part of a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a chunk.
Yeah. It's generally one page, generally, they say is 1 minute of screen time. So 17 pages is 17 minutes of a movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a chunk.
I-
The whole reason they got him.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I love that. It's like, hey, you could do it in 80 days, right? Oh yeah. Sure. And the writer says,
Yeah. And then he's like, by the way, that schedule no longer applies. And they're like, the 2x4.
Yeah, I don't care if you are Universal. I got a 2x4.
Even with 11 months of development, Mark Romanek didn't have a clear idea of how he wanted the Wolfman to look. Like, he hadn't picked an exact design for Rick Baker to go with, even though they were a month out.
Wow.
Well,
Right?
I mean, as we discussed, it was like, is it a cat? Is it a wolf? Is it a,
Yeah.
So
So Baker provided him with dozens of designs. And when Romanek left and Johnston took over, Baker knew whoever replaced him wouldn't have time to debate any of his work. So he made an executive decision. Clint, this is Rick. You're going to be a Rick Baker.
All right.
About that.
It literally took thousands of designs and the director leaving the picture for me to make the Wolfman what I wanted it to be. I'm not going to give the other guy a choice. He's going to have to live with it. He's not going to have any time now. It was 2 weeks before filming and we hadn't made anything yet because nobody had made a decision.
smart. He's just like, yeah, I'm going to take advantage of this and just do whatever the
I'm gonna
hell
do-
I want.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not, right?
Well,
But also, like, it's Rick Baker. Of course, like, even if I came on as that director, I'd be like, yeah, bro, you just, like,
Do your
whatever.
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
Do your thing. Yeah.
I'll look at it and be like, looks good.
Yeah.
Well, I think he did such a great job too, because he said that he wanted to pay homage to the 1941, but he wanted to kind of make it his own. And if you see the 1941, like the one I got here, like
Yeah.
it feels
Like an evolution of that.
yes. It's
Yeah.
I actually really like the design that he did.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
I don't like
Yeah.
those. I don't like those cat ones.
Or Wolf Bros.
Yeah, Wolf Bros.
Wolf Bros. Hang loose. Surf's up.
I'll howl it at the moon with a bonfire. Woo!
Aru. It's Keanu Reeves as Wolf Bro. Aru.
Okay, around this time is when like the CGI backlash really started to crop up, because every movie like had just immense amounts of it and not very good a lot of the time. This backlash has never died, still goes on today. And the producers were very upfront at the beginning that the Wolfman would be the Rick Baker show. Like, this was going to be the Wolfman, just like the original was, where it's all makeup. But they clarify that like they would use CGI for like enhancements, including the transformation. Okay. And at the start of production, they released images of what the Wolfman would actually look like, what Benicio del Toro was going to look like, as a way to assure fans it was going to be makeup and that the director swap, like switcheroo, wouldn't affect the film. However, with everything going on, Baker felt like he and his whole team were the only ones excited to be on the film.
Oh.
Like, they were the only ones that wanted to be there. They were excited about it. And he kind of felt like, in turn, like they were kind of ostracized for it. Like, there's like these fucking weirdos. Like, this is such
These
a
fucking
stupid...
nerds, they were excited to come to work every day. Oh, fuck them.
For Wolfman, and like,
Meanwhile, craft service is just like, yeah, here's a sandwich, whatever, I don't care. You need a fork, fuck it.
Just sloppy sandwiches, just like bologna on plain white bread.
They're all fed in dog bowls.
Yeah. Just, here's your sandwich.
Can I get you some utensils? No! Not on Wolfman!
We are method craft services.
Every single one of us.
You eat on our set, if we're doing Wolfman, you eat raw meat, okay? Raw meat in a dog bowl.
On your hands and knees.
And sometimes we can make a huge, beautiful meal, and then we're going to dehydrate it, and then we're going to grind it and give you little tablets, little kibbles.
All of your vitamins.
Smush it into pellet form.
It was a hell of a time making this movie. Okay. So, the London transformation scene was done early in production. This is when he's sitting in front of like the theater.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All the
medical
doctors.
dudes. Yeah.
And this was done early in production to give the VFX team plenty of time to work on it, because if like they can figure that out and then work on it on behind the scenes and stuff. So when Johnston reached that scene, again, very little prep time. He didn't have the time to come up with what he wanted the transformation to look like. There were designs and ideas, but he had so little time to get to there. And so even though Baker and Elsie had built pieces for the transformation, Johnson was non-committal. He was just like, I don't know. And some of those designs are like fucking wacky. Like they make him look like he's turning into like a mutant.
Oh.
No, like one side of his face will change first before it comes into the other thing. So it's not like it's just very crazy looking. But so he didn't know what he wanted to do. So they decided they could
fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
If you were to point at me, I'd say improvise.
Fix it in post.
Nope. They're like, we'll fix it in post. Don't worry about it.
I remember watching that scene thinking to myself, like, how different it felt than the other transformations in the movie. But the one part that just like really kind of like made me uncomfortable when his two fingers like bent
backwards,
like all the way to the side. I saw that, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Like that really irked me.
Because they were going to fix it in post, they just basically had Benicio del Toro just act out a bunch of stuff. Baker and Elsie were not invited to the set for the transformation.
How do you get away with that?
Why?
I know, right? Why do you, like
they're that's their job.
It's
It's
like
part
the
of their
thing,
job.
right?
Do they have to be invited, or couldn't they just be like?
Because it's just like a nut on your schedule kind of thing.
Oh, so so the schedule goes on, and like Rick Baker's like eating his out of his dog bowl or whatever, and they're like, oh hey, do you know they're shooting the transformation scene? And he's like,
what? Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
basically,
that's so weird.
I know. So this was also news to VFX supervisor Stephen Begg, who originally
begged to be there. Begged like a dog.
He was originally told he was going to use CGI for the in-betweens of Rick Baker's work. So from like this weird version and then to the final thing, whatever.
So like Rick Baker probably had like varying stages of makeup.
Yeah.
In the transformation. And
just
then,
like American Werewolf in London.
Right.
Where it's just like chunks. You just see like the leg elongate and then his hand elongate, that kind of stuff. And just do CGI in between that stuff.
Yeah.
So even though Baker has always embraced CGI for things he can't do. He talked a lot about at the time where The Dark Knight, how they were able to remove Two-Face's face. He's like, I can't do that. Like,
right.
so I'm all for CGI doing stuff that I can't do with makeup.
He seems like a very reasonable guy.
No, he absolutely
I
is.
like Rick Baker.
Yes, he is a quite lovely person.
Reasonable
Everybody
in
loves.
this day and age.
I know, right?
It's unheard of.
Can we get him on
So-
the show? Let's get him on the show.
Baker was
be awesome.
extremely let down by this decision to not be involved with the transformation. But he has to admit he was okay with the final result. And I think that scene, there's a shot that I don't like when his face first starts to change, but the rest of it actually does pretty much
pretty
hold
good.
up. Like
Yeah.
it looks really cool, like especially when he opens his mouth and his teeth start popping out.
Ooh,
Like
it's so creepy.
It makes
Yeah.
you uncomfortable.
I was when we were watching it, I was just like, this CG feels like really good to me. Like there was nothing in it that was like, oh, this is like a mid 2000s
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Like this is
exactly.
really bad. It held up for sure.
Yeah. So this is what Stephen Begg, VFX supervisor, had to say about the transformation. Clint?
I got a note from Rick saying he was really impressed with it and he was very happy with it. To me, that's the ultimate compliment when you get it from someone like him.
Stand-up guy. Stand-up guy.
Rick Baker.
Be a stand-up person.
Be a Rick Baker.
Yeah.
Obviously not going to plan. Universal delayed the film to Friday the 13th, February 2009. But then a Friday the 13th reboot was quickly made and set for that day. And so Universal moved Wolfman to April 2009. Then they decided the film needed reshoots. Okay. So in May of 2009, over a year after production started, Johnston started 5 weeks of reshoots. They brought in Vic Armstrong to help with the new action scenes that they were going to do. Vic Armstrong was the stunt double for Harrison Ford. Big stunt coordinator guy.
Okay, cool.
The movie was now delayed to November 2009. As the film was originally shot, the London chase didn't really exist. So, actually, Clint, where did you watch The Wolfman? What did you watch?
I
On a service of any kind?
watched it on Peacock. Yep.
Okay. You watched the same version we did.
Okay.
So, in the original version they shot, the Wolfman, he escapes from the asylum, and then the only thing he does is he goes and terrorizes a gala where a blind lady is singing. And he's kind of wooed by the thing, by her voice. And then when she stops, he starts killing the people.
Rampaging.
Right, yeah.
As
Rampaging.
as you do.
As you do.
Yeah.
As
You
you
know.
do. At any gala.
Yeah.
And that was it. He was never running on the rooftops. He was never he never ran across the streets and attacked a bunch of people. None of that. So this is Joe Johnston, about why they cut all that extra stuff on the original cut of the film.
They were both cut to save money. We shot the film, put it together, and it was immediately apparent why those sequences were in the story. And so we went back to shoot a bunch of new stuff for the end. That has happened to me several times. You try and save money, and you say the movie will work without this, and then you find something is lacking after you shoot, and then you need to go back and do it. And then you ironically end up spending more money.
More money than
Yeah.
what they fought with the original director about,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they're spending more time, because he only wanted 20 extra days, and now they're doing 5 weeks.
Wow. Right.
What? But I was immediately apparent why those sequences were
Yeah.
cut. Oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Ro-
The movie's boring.
Right. Romanek needs to get one of those director's 2x4s. It just sounds like
That's
he
what
needs
you
a little
need.
bit of muscle,
Yeah.
behind his requests.
Yes.
He's like, how about 20 days? And they're like, no.
Well-
and then Joe Johnston just gives a little look.
I mean,
with the-
almost immediately,
Yeah.
right? He's
and
just
they're
I put
5
17
weeks? Okay. Whatever
yeah,
you want.
I want
Oh, whatever you
17 more
say.
pages and 5 more weeks.
They're like-
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay,
that sounds great.
okay.
That sounds great, Joe.
And
you
we
do
can't
studio.
release it on Friday the 13th.
That's the one thing he was like, okay, fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they realized that just the movie's not very exciting and it seems much cheaper than it was meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise it would just be like scenes of him and like Emily Blunt like longingly looking at each other in like the moody countryside, and then like Anthony Hopkins being
This is
like
how you skip a rock.
brooding. Yeah, like what the hell else would that movie be without those like big epic chase scenes?
Yeah, because the London transformation scene is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I liked all the London like chase.
Yeah.
Like the part where he just fucking jumps onto that bus
Yeah.
and just starts ripping people apart
Yes.
was just like,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
Jesus.
Like that was pretty entertaining.
When I was watching it, I was like, I know he's the Wolfman, but I'm used to him like in these other movies or in these other parts of the movie, like of the werewolf, like ripping up apart like a bunch of old country boys trying to hunt him. Like, all right, that makes sense. But he busts into into the bus and he's like, "Hey, a nice looking lady. Yeah, your throat's gone." I was like, "Oh my God, shit!"
But it's
Disemboweled.
not only does he do that, he jumps on the window and he's like, "Oh, there's people in there. There's people fucking everywhere."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, but they're trapped in there."
Yeah.
And he breaks through the window and he just starts ripping them apart. Like that was.
This movie is insanely violent. Like we were both
Yeah, I thought it,
shocked.
when we
like we
pushed
thought
play.
it was PG-13.
Yeah.
And then the first violent scene happens and we were like, "Whoa. Oh my God." Like,
He
whoa.
ripped off his arm.
Yeah.
Well, the part in the gypsy camp where
Yeah.
they're just people are just like
Dude.
losing limbs and stuff, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Whoa, wait a
He
minute!"
like
off his
pulls out
head.
some guy's like liver and is like, "Ah," and you're just like, "Oh my God." Like what the fuck? It's so violent.
It's very violent.
Which is actually kind of fun. I was expecting it to be one of the problems of the movie.
Like more
Assumed
tame.
was going to be like one of those things where they're like it was rated R and they had to cut it down to like PG-13 or something,
to
and so
appeal
then
to more
it,
audiences.
yeah, and then it doesn't seem as fun or interesting. But then when it gets violent, it's actually like that's when the movie seems to have the most fun
Yeah.
Yeah.
and is the most interesting parts.
And is spooky. It's
Yeah.
spookier.
Yes.
Yep. Everyone loves a disembowelment.
Yeah. Okay. One of the changes was to the werewolf fight at the end. Johnson felt that was always part of it, but he felt that the way they originally shot it felt like two stuntmen fighting, and it not supernatural beings. So they went back and like completely amped it up, and that's what Vic Armstrong was helping with, along with the London chase.
Did some like wire pulls and
exactly.
shit so they could jump
Yes.
higher and yeah.
Okay. So that final fight at the end of the movie, Johnston says there was no CG in that scene. And it's like, when Anthony Hopkins changes, when he gets thrown into the fire,
So the
when he
fire-
burns,
the
when he gets
fire
his
was real?
head cut off, and then remember the scene where like the shot of
That was
His
and
head.
his
Yeah, it's-
Anthony Hopkins very CG heads all.
yeah. He's like, "No, that was his real head.
Yeah, we took off his
We
head.
really did that."
Yeah.
That's what a pro Anthony Hopkins is.
Yeah.
He can remove his own head and do that.
Give him an Oscar.
Give that man an Oscar.
Oh. Okay, so part of the reshoots was changing the ending. Or as Johnston says, it wasn't a new ending, it enhanced the original ending. This
Man,
is
these artsy types, man. They're just using all these different words like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a thing.
okay. This is Johnston about this new ending.
I do feel like you have to walk a very fine line when you're talking to like producer types. I can imagine if you were to say like new ending, someone's gonna be like, "What? Do you know how much that's gonna cost?" And then so he's like, "No, it's just an enhancement." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
All right. It's funny.
well, enhancement. I like that word. That sounds good."
Funny that you should say about walking a line. We'll get back to that.
There were two versions of the ending that involved the fate of the Wolfman. One was where one character died, and in the other version, the other character died. After our first preview, it was clear we wanted the ending to go one way. We extended it, made it more rewarding.
That's a different ending. I'm sorry, Johnson.
Yeah.
You
one
can't
character dying versus the other. That's why I was like, wait,
Yeah.
yeah,
That doesn't make any
That's
sense.
different.
Those are two
That's a
endings.
different ending.
right.
Well, no, it's the same because someone dies and it's one of the wolves.
And it's one of the Wolfmen.
That's how it's the same.
So it's there are three.
You don't
want
want to believe me? Ask my 2x4.
Yeah. Just look right at it. Here it comes.
It's It's got enhancement written on it.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I do a lot of Clint's Closet creations for my 3D printer, right? But now I'm gonna go to Home Depot. I'm gonna get a 2x4. I'm gonna like make it like shape it to be some sort of like zombie apocalypse weapon, but I'm gonna carve into it enhancement.
Director's
And
enhancement.
we're gonna put it right up there.
Okay.
I love it.
So there are 3 different endings of the movie.
3. Okay.
One where Gwen,
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt, shoots and kills Lawrence. That's the version we saw.
Yep.
Okay.
One where he kills her, bites her neck,
Okay.
Sad.
and then he just like turns to the camera and goes, and the movie's over. And then another where he bites her, she shoots, and they both die. Those are all different endings, Mr. Johnston. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
But which one is the enhanced
Which one is the enhanced version? That's the one that obviously we saw because
That's the one to go
It
with.
was
Yeah.
so enhanced. So all the reshoots added an additional 200 VFX shots, which meant they needed more time and more money. The
course.
film was delayed again to February 2010, 2 years from when Romanek left.
At what point are studios just fucking finish it, bro? Like, at what point are they like that?
they were probably at that point the whole time.
The whole time,
The whole
right?
time. They're just like, can we fucking finish this movie? And it
He's
just
a
depends
wolf
on
man.
how much.
Like, just make him be a wolf.
Yeah. I think it just really depends on like probably the producer and the director and how much they care about actually like achieving the vision versus like how stubborn the studio is, right? Because like obviously Johnston had more pull somehow, like
Yeah,
he was
to be able to
like,
get those extra reshoots done,
Right,
right?
because
otherwise, if Universal didn't care about it and would just
would
just
just be like,
push
no.
it out,
Yeah. They
Right.
would just be like, no, you don't get reshoots. You push out the ending that you have. I don't care if there's no action scenes. Like, put the fucking movie out.
Yeah.
But, like, he was able to somehow get all of the things that he wanted. And so there was somebody in that mix on the, like, studio side that at least, like, was...
this has potential.
Right, believed enough in his vision or what they were doing. They were like, okay, fine, we'll
Was it
delay
like-
this and pay even more money.
Was like Lon Chaney the Fourth or something like that. It was just
Yeah.
like, I'm part of the studio. We need
Still dressing up as the Wolfman.
Yeah.
I dress up as the Wolfman like my father before me. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, like they pushed it again to February 2010 just because they needed to do extra VFX. Spinning their wheels on the edit, late in 2009, Universal brought in renowned editor Walter Murch.
I have his book. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yes, he did everything from American Graffiti, Apocalypse Now, to stuff like English Patient. Anyway,
He's a big deal.
he's a big deal.
Is he the Rick Baker of editors?
Yeah,
Kind of. Yeah,
yeah.
really.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Johnston was very grateful for his involvement because Murch had no baggage with the film and was willing to cut and move anything. And so his is the final cut. Okay. But there was a lot cut from the movie. If you buy the DVD, it comes with the original version and the unrated cut, which is just the longer version of it. Almost everything that was cut is from beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
Where-
that makes sense.
Where it's just like, it seems like they were just like,
Right.
move
They're
along, move along.
Yada, yada, yada. Anyway,
Yeah.
Wolfman. And you're
Yeah.
like, what? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about 17 minutes longer.
The 17 pages.
Oh my God.
It's all clicking. It's all clicking now.
But then they fucking cut it all.
Script math. It
So-
works.
Script math. So what was cut? Gwen actually sees Lawrence's performance, his Shakespeare performance, then visits him backstage to ask him to help her find her husband and his brother.
Okay,
right?
that's a way better intro into that character and their relationship, which made no sense because it was not set up. But also, holy shit, I forgot he was supposed to be an actor in this, which
So
does
she-
not matter
So she went
At
to
all.
So that she went to because he was in the States though. Is that what they're
No.
No, he was in London to perform Hamlet or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
and they actually, in that scene, in that cut scene, he talks about how his company is about to go to America.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
okay.
in the letter she's like, I heard that you were back in town and thought you might like to come and help me find who killed your brother or whatever.
If it's not a
Not
bother.
If it's not too much of a bother.
I know playing Hamlet is quite a difficult task, so if you can find the time.
But it's just like Benicio del Toro being an actor does not fucking matter in that movie in the slightest.
The only
and
time
also nothing about him as a character like screams actor.
Yeah, nothing. The only time it ever comes up is when Hugo Weaving
arrives.
the detective,
Yeah.
he's like,
But you've been seen as Hamlet, Macbeth, Richard III, all with that same face. I know a prudent man, but ask who else might be living inside that head of yours.
he just shots in the dark, like, you fucking did it because you're an actor. Like, he's like, you put on different faces. I mean, he also is like, you were in an asylum as a kid, but it was just like, that was the only thing that paid off that he was an actor.
Well,
and it was quite the leap.
Well, and because Larry was an actor in the 1941 version, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I think no, he was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in the 1940s. So like, hey, we want to pay homage. Yeah, sure, he's just still an actor.
Why not?
Okay. But to Jenny Ray's point, it doesn't.
you're right.
It doesn't get you anything. in this
Absolutely,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah. And also,
Okay.
he was just the most like sleepy, kind of boring like guy. I'm just like, he has no theatricality to him in the slightest.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about Benicio later. But this was kind of like confusing watching the two different versions because they've never met before. And then in the version we watched, the first time they meet is in the hallway in the mansion.
Yeah.
There's actually another scene before that where the three of them have dinner once he arrives at the mansion. That's also cut. But in that scene, like, does it say something that like they've never met before? I don't remember.
I think that does. I think it's like it's nice to finally meet you or something like that.
All right. Because then it's really weird because when he's like falling in love with her,
Yeah.
he says something to the effect of like, I envy my brother having known you and blah blah blah. And it was just like, you just met this
You
woman.
just
It wasn't
met
like
her.
that you went to their wedding and and he's always been jealous or something.
Yeah. Or they were like childhood friends.
Yeah,
but, like,
exactly. That there was an actual love triangle there or something.
Well, the whole, like you said, it does seem like they did sacrifice a lot of character stuff for whatever, I get more action, but it's like, you got to balance.
No, for the blood and
Yeah.
gore. No, give me
Yeah.
it all.
Guts.
I mean, that said, I will give them the scene where he is starting to like change and she's cleaning him up or something like that and he's like hearing her heartbeat or whatever. And so like I like that scene because like for her it's just like, I'm fucking grieving. I just need to have some sex. And then
Right.
he's just like, I'm turning into a beast and I'm
gonna bite your throat
yeah,
out.
yeah. And so like I liked that, and I think the movie should have kept that as their thing, not that they were falling in love.
Right.
That it was just like a
sexual
lust.
it was like sexual tension, but also he's like, but I want to eat you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would believe that more than like a demure like I was telling Ian, I'm like, Benicio del Toro is like the worst love interest. Like I can't look at his face and be like, yep, that's the love interest.
Yeah, because
like,
he just looks so sleepy
he's
and
such a weird fucking dude. Like he's a great actor, but he's a weird looking dude and he's a weirdo. And I'm just like, I don't.
they make so many fucking jokes about in Benicio del Toro's expense about they're like, oh, Benicio del Toro is a Wolfman? Yeah, just give him a little extra hair and you're there. Oh
my
God. They all kind of make that joke.
And he's
Like Johnston,
hey
Rick
guys,
Baker.
not
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Meow.
You're a fucking weird looking dude.
Yeah, Rick Baker's like, I don't gotta do anything.
He's just like, I'm a genius. Like, give this man an Oscar.
So, another scene that was missed. I was gonna ask if this scene is in the version you watched. Lawrence travels back by train before he gets back to the mansion, and he meets a man played by Max von Sydow. He gifts Lawrence a silver cane, a cane with a silver wolf's head on
Yeah.
it.
That's in the
And-
original too. The wolf
Yes.
head cane. Yeah.
So in the original film, Larry buys it from Gwen as just like the sequence where he's just like, I want to talk with you and I'll buy this cane. But then his father uses that cane to end up to beat the Wolfman to death. So it's like, symbolic, whatever. In the
Whatever, symbolism.
whatever,
Fuck
right?
it.
Whatever. So in this, so Lawrence is just talking with Max von Sydow, and he's like, "Oh, I have this cane," and he's like, "It's really heavy. I would like you to have it. Like you're going to be in the moors. Like it's good to have a cane in the moors.
It's good to have a cane.
It's the weakest. It is the weakest reasoning for him to have the cane. Like it makes no sense.
You didn't learn in your Boy Scouts preparedness manual that you always have to have a cane in the moors.
That's a new shirt idea. It's good to have a
cane in the moors.
What the fuck?
For what if you fall into some sludge and you're sinking and you gotta hook your cane on it? Listen, it actually makes perfect sense, to be honest. If you're gonna have a cane anywhere, the fucking moors is where you should have.
You gotta be able to pull yourself out of that. It's a nice sturdy cane, a silver handle. Yeah,
it'll help you walk on the uneven, peat moss or whatever the hell.
all the cobblestone that's all around in the moors.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is. The scene is like less than a minute, and it's just like that excuse for why he gives it to him is so bare, and
Well, the fact that it's like Max von Sydow too, they're like this.
yeah, right. Like it's just like that moment when he shows up in the movie, you're like, oh my god, it would be like oh, it's Max von Sydow. Like this is gonna be a really big important scene, and it's really not.
Just some rando.
And they're like, what if Max von Sydow just really cared about more safety? And they're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Dad, did you bring your cane? No, fuck, Lawrence.
We can't go into the moors without a cane.
We're gonna find some PSA from 2010
Yeah.
of Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
It's like, for safety in the moors, please bring a cane.
You don't want to roll your ankle. You don't want to end up...
So the weird thing is like it does answer the fucking question of why the last shot of the movie is
The cane is
cane.
important.
Yeah.
Yes.
'Cause
I did.
because Hugo Weaving's holding it, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my god, he has the cane, and we were like, what the fuck
What
is
is it?
It has no meaning.
Well, and Anthony Hopkins is like using that to try to kill Benicio del Toro in that end fight scene, right? Like, because it's like a sword. Doesn't he pull the top of it
exactly.
out? Yeah, and so like that's what he's using as a weapon. But
Well, I
then,
guess that's
like,
an homage to the original then.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, it just doesn't do anything. There was no steps to make that seem like that was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the last shot to be like, oh, he's holding the cane now.
Yeah.
It's like, that means nothing.
Right.
And with a scene saying you need a cane for the Moors doesn't really add more to it.
I mean,
You can't make something important by putting Max von Sydow in there without. it's just like this weird thing. Oh, we know what's going to be
or
important.
can you?
Well, that's probably where they got a little bit confused on how they can do this, because they're like, hey, you know what? This cane needs to be important. How do we make it important? Oh yeah, let's have Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
But then everybody else is just like, what the fuck is Max von Sydow doing here?
Yeah.
And you look
The
at that
guy
bit.
has 3 lines.
You look weary. Going to the moors? Have a cane.
Bye.
He just fucks right off.
Jumps out the window of the train.
Weep. And he's like, you can go away from me now.
Yeah, get out of my cabin. Okay, one other thing that was cut was, 2 other things. In the tavern, when Lawrence is just sitting there listening to the townsfolk go on, he actually confronts the bar patrons as they start spreading rumors about his mom.
Oh.
And in that scene, they actually say the word werewolf, which they just kind of like allude to. They never really say it, but then they say it later in the movie. But
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're just like strong hints. They're just like silver bullets, wink, wink, wink,
yeah,
wink.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know, if you've never heard about werewolves
Yeah.
before, it's like this is your first time watching a werewolf movie. Like, what the fuck are they talking
Yeah.
about? You know.
They-
Anyway,
Well, if it was your first time watching a werewolf movie, you were probably real stoked about the reveal because it was so fucking obvious the whole time. Like, I literally looked at him and I was like, so it's Anthony Hopkins, right? Right? Right?
like the first scene.
The
We're at from the shadows.
So obvious.
I thought it was kind of weird how in this movie, Wolfman, that like it never actually explains, it never states whether or not he remembers what he did. I don't seem to remember a scene where he was just like, oh God, the things that I've done, or like, what did I do?
Yeah.
He just goes, I love the line where he's like, you've done terrible things, Lawrence.
It must be like once you embrace the beast, maybe that's when you start to remember things.
Yeah.
Because in every other like
But you're
werewolf-
deriving that. My point is that it's not. It's
not
stated in the
explicitly
movie
stated.
that
Yeah.
that I whether or not Hopkins remembers, but Del Toro, if he ever remembered.
Well, if memory serves, and I like werewolf movies, any other werewolf movie that I've seen, that the human who turns into a werewolf the day after has no recollection of what they've done.
Exactly.
That's a rule that they set up.
Yeah, that's what I would assume, is that
But
he
not-
doesn't remember based on previous knowledge of werewolf lore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He just like is covered in blood and is like, what did I do?
I do really like that scene because he just looks so
Yeah.
fucking distraught. And then like Anthony Hopkins playing a little unhinged was kind of a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
that was fun.
And then there's one other thing in the asylum when his father is there. He actually mentions that he was a bare knuckle prize fighter, kind of setting up the idea that he's a good fighter. Which is when you're like, why is he having problems? He's an old man. Like,
Yeah. I was like, he's like 400 in wolf years. Come on, Del Toro. You could take him. He's like geriatric. His hips probably don't work.
Can you imagine just turning into a Wolfman, but you're just like
Yeah, because he was obviously like older. Like it showed like there were physical differences between the two of them. And like Anthony Hopkins' Wolfman was like had some gray and was
Yeah.
like a little older looking. And so it's just like, okay, so Wolfmen age.
yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
thing too. Is like, why is he having such a hard time? Because like, if he's old, does like turning into a werewolf like negate all of that and like they're all equal? And I don't know. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Okay. Jenny Ray, this is Joe Johnston on making movies of this size and cutting things.
The people in the studio who are putting up the $100 or so million should be the ones who control the final cut. I think that when you give a director final cut, I think it can be a recipe for disaster. I think that a director will find things that are sacred to him that mean nothing to an audience. I am one of those directors who would gladly throw anything out that does not improve the story or improve the film-going experience. It sometimes takes me a while to come to that point, and it's painful, but ultimately you have to come to understand that as brilliant as you think a scene is, if it means nothing to the audience, if it's bringing the movie down, if it's confusing to people, you have to be willing to dump it.
It's kind of a controversial opinion right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that he's like, it takes me a while to come to that point, and it's painful. For them, not for me.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the 2x4. I'm fine. It's just really painful for them.
Because he has to put down all the editors after they cut a scene.
Well, it almost feels like in that.
I'm sorry.
Well, it almost feels like in the first part of this quote, he's like, "Look, the studio is the one who controls it." So it's kind of like he's like washing his hands of it.
Yeah, he's being a company man.
Yeah.
Right. But then he also was like, can I have more money and more time? And they're like, okay. maybe he is one of those directors that like can like because he is like politically savvy and can kind of walk the line. Like he knows how to like talk to studios, right? Where it's not just like my vision.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're like, all right, fine, you can have more money and more time, fine.
Well, like I said, there's a perfect quote coming up for that.
All right.
When the movie was cut down, they had trouble fitting Danny Elfman's score to the new pace. So, at that same time, they had just released the first trailer for the film. This was October 2009, where they used like a 9 Inch Nails type
Oh my God, of course. they
electric
fucking
guitar
did.
track.
2009.
Yeah, right?
Do you believe in curses?
And it was very moody, which works for a trailer.
Sure.
Universal is like, hey, what if we did that for the whole movie?
Oh.
So they decided they should do that for the whole score. And they brought in Paul Haslinger, who did the Underworld movies. Speaking of werewolves.
Oh my
Werewolves.
God, yeah.
And he's
They're just
part
like
of,
rock and roll werewolves. That guy
Yeah.
will crush it.
and he's also from Tangerine Dream. If they did a ton of 80s movies. Anyway, this really pissed off Johnston. But he was so sick of fighting with the studio on all these different things, they just let them try it. So he does the whole score for the movie. 1 month before the film's release, 1 month again with this 1 month thing. Hey, moons.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Every month at the full moon, Joe Johnston gets an
Appears.
idea.
He appears to help with something. So 1 month before the film's release, still at this stage, the studio reneged on the idea of using an electronic score and put Elfman's back in.
Oh.
But Danny Elfman was busy on Alice in Wonderland, so he couldn't come back. So they had like a team of people just hurry and score a bunch of stuff to kind of fit in all the holes. And because they only had a 1 month to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, some random facts. Del Toro was quick to say that no other monsters would be showing up in the movie. Like, he was like, don't expect Dracula to show up in
He's
the
like,
taxi.
it's called the Wolfman, people.
Yeah.
Not Wolfman and Friends. Saturday morning cartoons. Wolfman
Yeah,
and
that's
Friends.
exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this was also like the 2 years after
Van Helsing.
Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
So, having characters show up.
Oh, yeah. Everything had to be an extended universe all the time.
Yeah, and we were a couple years from that, just like going off the chains. But Gene Simmons and David Lee Roth provided vocal samples for the Howl
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
because they wanted a human version of a howl.
Just picturing the towels just like, ow! Like, everyone's like, what?
In London. Oh God! Oh God! Ow! Oh, you go, Wolf.
All right. Sassy. Pop off, queen. Like 20 years too early.
You know, that's why you went to that gala
Right.
with the singer.
This is where I'm going to get my big break.
And then that guy from Back to the Future, he's just like, hey, listen to this.
You know that new howl you're looking for?
No, it's the
Yes. Operator.
Operator, get me number 2. Listen to this.
number 2. Okay, and then let's see. Rick Baker cameos in the film very blatantly.
Is he? I was gonna say he's not in the scene where they do the asylums. He's not in that scene.
Is
He's
he
the-
doing someone's makeup?
He is the first gypsy to get killed. He's the one. He's that guy standing and he's like looking like almost straight to camera, and then he gets sideswiped. After the initial filming was completed, the initial version, Johnston signed on to do Captain America: First Avenger. So he was doing pre-production on that while dealing with post and reshoots on Wolfman. So he was doing double duty. This is Joe Johnston on the final cut of Wolfman.
When audiences say, hey, it's slow for the first 15 minutes, you have to listen to them. For better or worse, this is a movie business we're in, and we're in the business of selling tickets. You want the audience to see the movie, be entertained, and then go tell their friends to see it? I recognize that. You're walking a fine line between art and commerce, and I recognize the line is there, and I have to walk it like anyone else.
Said like a studio man.
Right?
Yeah.
Company man right there.
But also, he is not wrong.
Yeah, everything you were talking about
Yeah.
the whole time is just like how he was able to go both. He's playing both sides.
Right.
He's going like, no, I don't want to do that, but you know what? I want more money for this.
Right. Like, this isn't good. We need to reshoot this. This isn't working. I need more time. I need
Yeah.
more money. I need this to make the movie good. But the purpose of making the movie good isn't for my ego or my art or my vision. It's because like it's gonna make the movie better to make it more profitable.
Yeah.
And honestly, like this is not a terrible movie. Like
No.
it's slow in parts and it's kind of boring and there's like at the beginning especially and there's stuff with like we were saying like the character stuff is kind of thin and like his relationship with Emily Blunt doesn't make a lot of sense, but like the CG is good, the makeup is good, the action stuff is good. Anthony Hopkins is like it's just like it's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to your
Spoiler
point,
alert.
it is very like he's like, hey, I'm the guy that walks the line.
Yeah, like this movie could have been absolute hot garbage dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
terrible.
If they
Yeah.
got just a yes man. Right. Okay. The Wolfman released February 12th, 2010. on a budget of $150 million. So they spent an additional $50 million
Oh my god.
off of that
Good
initial
Lord.
Romanek falling out because he didn't have enough money.
How pissed do you think he was? He
I
was
know.
like,
right?
I could have made that movie if I had $50 million more dollars.
I could have done 5 weeks
5
of
more
reshoots.
weeks. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean,
I
kind
could
of
have sold
like
out
you
my
could-
creative differences.
Well, if you think about it, like if he had that company man kind of thing where he had that 2x4 to go, okay, I shot the 80 days version. Listen, it needs some extra work,
Yeah.
and this movie could be great.
Yeah.
Like maybe it would have been even better. Who knows?
It's the 2x4 man. That
2x4. It made $62 million in the United States and a total of $142 million worldwide. It was a bomb.
Womp womp.
What it is at the time the second most expensive horror film ever made,
Damn.
if you count Van Helsing from 2004.
I don't.
And I do. Oh.
I don't.
No, nobody
No one
cares for
counts
that
that as a
fucking
horror
movie.
movie.
I don't count that as a movie.
Yeah, we'll eventually do Van Helsing because that movie was, I'm pretty sure it was a shit show, and they were betting so hard on that movie to become like this big thing.
That is
Ugh,
pretty.
that movie, fucking hell.
Yeah, that is pretty wild though that this was the second most expensive horror movie. Not because like it didn't, like it shows on the screen, right?
Yeah,
like
it looks fucking $1 million.
Yeah, it looks
100%.
good. But like, I don't remember this movie coming out. I don't remember seeing it. Like literally when we watched it for this was the first time I've ever seen this movie.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, oh yeah, I forgot that this movie existed. Like it just was so like,
Came and went.
yeah, it just came. Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like a bummer. This is like, it like looks so cool and it was so expensive and like nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because speaking about like how it looks, like again, most of the CG is pretty good. Like weirdly enough, for 2010, the digital bear and stag looked really good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, the cinematography in that, it just looks fucking cool. Like just that whole gothic style looked really great. It is only surpassed by World War Z for most expensive horror films. Okay, and Rotten Tomatoes, 32% with critics, 33% with audiences. I feel like that's a little low.
I think I
so.
agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, 33% I think is a little harsh.
I wonder if it's because so many people because you, like you said, like with the 1941 has gained such a cult following. I wonder if it has anything to do with like, well, they couldn't make it as good as the original or make it as beloved as the original. So maybe audiences and critics were kind of unjustly.
I mean, I get critics, I get, but
Yeah.
most people who are going to the movie, do they give a shit? Like,
Yeah.
do they really care? Like, they just
Benicio
wanna
del
be-
Toro
they
does.
just
He has
want-
his own 19, like he has his own
VHS.
VHS copy of it.
Yeah. He's just like watching the movie, like holding it, just like one tear.
What could have been? I'm sorry, Lon Chaney
I
Jr.
failed you.
The Wolfman was nominated for Best Makeup at the Oscars in 2011 and won.
Well, okay, that makes sense. And then that one guy named Oscar was like, great movie.
Great.
Both can be true.
Yes.
This was Rick Baker's 7th win. He simply thanked his wife and just handed the mic over to the makeup supervisor, David Elsey. And
He's just like, I don't care. I got so many of these. I don't even make another speech.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Kinda.
Bye.
Just go back to see my other 6 ones. Yeah. Thank the same people.
Throws them in a pile.
David Elsey, who said,
Crikey. It was always my ambition to lose an Oscar one day to Rick Baker. This is better.
To win with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So later that year, Baker opened up about how extremely disappointed that he was in the entire movie and everything, how he was treated on the movie, that he didn't get to do the transformation. He laments how little of his work was used in the film, that the movies have become, like movies in general have become designed by committee and the fix it in post mentality.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show how good he actually is to not have like have like a fraction of his work used in the film and still win.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because when he's full Wolfman, it's basically him.
Right.
And I mean, they do some CGI stuff to like make his mouth open wider and stuff like that. But in 2011, Universal Pictures the president of Universal Pictures, Ron Meyer, he was on stage dishing about how shitty their movies they've made. His words, how shit. He's like, we made a lot of shitty movies, and he's like, and they're all heartbreaking, but he threw a lot of movies under the bus.
Oh my God.
And he's like, Cowboys and Aliens, Babe, Pig in the City. Like he was just talking about just all these are all shitty movies that
Even
we made.
Babe.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to the slaughterhouse.
But this is what he thought of the Wolfman. You're gonna be a Ron Meyer.
Ron Meyer. One of the worst movies we ever made. The moment I saw it, I thought, what have we all done here? That movie was crappy. We all went wrong. The script never got right. The director was wrong. Benicio stunk. It all stunk.
Aw.
Benicio, he loves the Wolfman.
Damn, that's so
Right?
mean. I mean, I will agree with him on the script. The director, I don't know. Joe Johnston seems like he got shit done.
Yes.
And then Benicio was like fine. I mean, he was very boring. Like we talked about how he didn't have like a character at all,
He had
but I
no
don't
character
think
in
that's
it.
his fault.
I mean, he's a good actor. If you want to have somebody, if you're like, hey, you know, we really need a boring character, like somebody who's just really boring, like get Benicio for sure, that's fine. I liked him as the Collector. I thought he was fun in Guardians, but like
I literally
Weird,
paused the movie.
Unhinged character.
Yeah.
Like he needs a guy. Like he needs a character that matches the face that he has.
Yeah.
Not some like milquetoast, like
Actor.
like actor who's like a lord from like the English countryside who's like
the
super
Moors.
sleepy.
The Moors.
From
yeah.
Moors. But going back to that quote from Ron Meyer, like he was still the president of Universal when he said this stuff. But it's like, it's your fucking fault.
yeah.
You didn't delay the movie.
Yeah.
Like if you thought this was gonna work, hold off.
Hold off.
Like you're the top of this problem.
Yeah.
Like if any of these decisions were made, it was because you allowed it to happen.
Right.
And you could have delayed it, found the right director. Like, I don't know. And it was like, yeah, you got Joe Johnston who was going to toe the line for you.
Mm-hmm.
And now, he was wrong. It's like, fucking piece of shit.
What's Ron Meyer doing now? What's he doing these days?
I don't know. I didn't look him up because fuck him.
He's wandering the moors
without a cane.
without a cane.
Help!
And he was just like, I should have listened.
Lamenting with a howl.
It's just like half sunk in a bog for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into Lee Whannell's new 2025 remake for this episode. It's kind of tied to the Universal's failed dark universe idea that they had. Their big old cinematic universe that was a complete failure. And that's a whole other story for another day. But was 2010's The Wolfman worth it?
It was rather, I mean, I think we all have agreed that it was rather forgettable.
Yeah.
Because I forgot that I saw this until you gave me the homework, and then you two.
When you were watching it, were you like, oh yeah, or you just like, nope, don't remember any of this?
The only thing that I remember, like, oh yeah, was when I knew it was Anthony Hopkins all along. Just I think that's part of it that I remember. But then when he was actually like turning and they had the fight, and I was like, this is what I remember. I mean, it's kind of hard to ask if it was worth it when they have with this kind of a franchise that you know that they're just going to be making another one and another one and another one because they've made others and others and others prior to that. So it's kind of hard to be like, is it worth it? Because they're just going to do another one. I mean, clearly they are.
Yeah.
Or they did.
They did. Yeah.
So I don't know.
And it apparently wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do it
I
again.
don't know. This is one of those hard ones where it's like, in the was it worth it of things, it's sort of like, like it got into like development hell. It was hard to make. There was a lot of like more time, more money, more cutting things, whatever. But it didn't sound like anyone had like a particularly bad time on this movie.
Yeah, it's more of like a sure.
Yeah, it's like fine,
Why
okay.
not?
Yeah, it's sort of like it exists, okay. Like because I can't say like, oh, it was absolutely not worth it because it's like fine. And
Well, Rick Baker got screwed over.
that's true, Rick Baker. But he got an Oscar.
So, like, yeah, it's true.
Okay. I mean, like, it's fine. I actually enjoyed watching it. Like, and it's I thought it was going to be way worse than it was.
100%.
I was like, oh, this is actually, like, I'm surprised that this is better than I thought it was going to be. I'll say, was it worth it? Sure.
Why not?
I think is this our first movie that we've asked if it was a sure?
Yeah, it's
I feel like we've had these before.
I mean, we've had these before,
Yeah.
but to your point, it's just not like someone died on it,
Right.
Or
Or
like
passports were
there
taken.
was there was some terrible.
No one was kidnapped.
Yeah,
you know.
there was nothing terrible that happened on it. It just like kept getting just problem after problem that just kind of pushed it. It's one of those movies where you're watching it where you're kind of like, movie, I want to like you more.
Yeah.
Like, stop being rough.
Yeah.
Or stop
Right.
being rough around the edges. Like, there's a really cool shot where one of those hunters is walking with a rifle pointed, and he fires, and it flashes, and the Wolfman standing right there.
Yeah.
Like, that shot is so fucking fast that you didn't really grasp what was exactly happening, but if they stayed with the shot longer and then you saw that happen, it would have scared you more.
Right.
But because that shot is only a second and a half long, like, it's just like, oh, that was kind of shocking, instead of being like, oh, and then it happens.
Yeah.
Like, so the movie's full of that, just those rough edges, but like, it doesn't really, you start pulling the thread about the brother, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like,
Don't pull any threads.
But then he's like, he just killed his son, and then wanted his other son to come back to take the fall for the stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna make
All
an
right, now I
argument.
get it.
You just put that together?
Yes. Thank you for that.
is that true?
No.
It makes a lot more sense to me now that, like, after having watched it, like,
No,
and then
'cause
you saying that, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Emily Blunt asked him to come back. So I think it was
Fortuitous.
I think it was just fortuitous, and that's why Anthony Hopkins at the beginning was like, I'm very glad you're back, Lawrence.
Yeah. But he wasn't planning on biting him to turn him.
Or was he?
Yeah.
Or
but
was
I mean,
he?
that was the good twist. Like, Jenny Ray
Yeah.
was like this scene in the asylum where he was all like, he was just like, I like living. Fuck you.
Fuck
You're staying here.
you,
You're
yeah.
taking the fall for all this.
So I can go continue rampaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because I was kind of like at the beginning, I'm like, we all know it's Anthony Hopkins. Like, this movie's so like, I didn't like there wasn't anything like keeping me excited about watching it, because I'm like, I feel like I already know what's going to happen because I know Wolf lore. I know it's Anthony Hopkins. Like, there's no mystery. Also, it was hysterical to me that Hugo Weaving shows up and is just like, who could have done this? And all the townspeople are like, it's definitely a werewolf. And it's just like, and he's just like, I don't think so. I think it's a mad lunatic. And it's just like,
seriously, like, dude.
yeah. And the townspeople
we've
meanwhile
all
are,
figured
like,
this out.
loading their shotguns with silver bullets. Like, no. Listen, this has
know.
happened before. We know it's a
We
werewolf.
know, we get this, yeah.
And so we're just like, you know where it's going. But then, so it actually, the twist with Anthony Hopkins, like, was like, oh, that's fun. Okay, like, this is more interesting now.
Exactly. That is a good twist. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that I really like the part where when he first starts killing all those people, and then that dude runs into the moor without a cane, and then he shoots at him, and he doesn't get him, and then he's like, fuck it, and he tries to shoot himself, and then he's out of bullets. Like, that's a great
That's a
moment.
great
And he's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and then he gets, wham, just like
It's like,
head
well,
just torn
I thought that
right
was a
off.
great moment too. And then when he ripped his head off, I was like, well, that's just as fast as a bullet. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly. It was just, yeah. You're good, man.
okay.
You're good. You didn't have to slowly die. But so for me, it was kind of okay. It's
Sure.
Yeah, it's a sure. Yeah, I mean, why not? It was made. We watched it.
yeah.
It was made. All right, follow-ups. This first one from YouTube. God, this person's name is incredible. Two Crow 48. Two Crows. So Two Crow 48 says, reason 87 why Clint sucks.
Oh my God.
He tells me to stop whatever I'm doing and watch The Ninja Terminator before continuing the episode. So I stop my forklift in the middle of the warehouse and pull up YouTube. My manager fires me for something called stealing company time. This podcast is the worst, and now I'm living on the streets. 5 stars.
I'm impressed, but at the same time, not surprised that he got up to 87 reasons.
Yes. That's just the latest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
5 stars.
I like to see.
I mean, that's almost one per episode of the show.
That's
Yeah.
he did that on purpose. That's clever. Oh,
Yes.
2 Crow 48. That is clever. I'm not going to give him an 88th reason.
Okay.
That's really good.
Sucking so bad. Jeez. All right. And on
Reason 88, he supports the postal service.
Hey, I got those at a yard sale. Somebody else supported them. I got those for cheap.
and then we had a few review highlights. Also, for those of you who went to Apple Podcasts after our bad review for The Crow and gave us 5 stars, thank you so much. It was the
thank
best.
you.
Here's one from Dude, Stop It, Seriously. My favorite podcast for those who enjoy learning how movies are made, especially those movies that have a difficult production. It's the best.
Yeah.
Kind of what we do.
Yeah. He gets it.
And then this one cracked me up. Cheese N1P said, "Best pod ever. Also they hate The Crow so hard it will make you swoon." 5 stars.
That's. I still find it so fascinating how like people just grabbed onto that.
That one in
yeah,
particular.
That one thing. Yeah.
Like someone said that The Crow was intentionally cheesy. And I was like,
No.
I don't know if that's true.
No,
They-
no.
They-
That
they-
was a
why
person.
would-
That was a person who was not alive in the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
That is the fucking vibe of that era.
Yeah.
That whole
And,
movie.
and after everything they went through on that movie, you think they deliberately made it cheesy?
No,
Like
They were dead fucking serious about that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Like that is how it was. All right, and then the last review is from Gassy Turtle, and they said, "I usually only listen/watch this podcast on YouTube, but in their latest episode, they mentioned that someone gave them a 1-star review, so I came to Apple Podcasts to write a 5-star review and balance the scale."
Oh, thanks,
Thank
Gassy
you,
Turtle.
Thank you,
Thank
Gassy
you.
Turtles.
And now, as a YouTube podcast listener, you can watch us on video, see our faces. Oh. All right.
Yeah, cut it there. Just leave it there forever.
And they're like, oh no, malfunction. It would work, except I wasn't part of the joke. I was
That's
laughing
okay.
while you guys were frozen.
Well, maybe that's the better. Maybe
Yeah.
that's that elevates the joke.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably true. And last but not least, we have 2 new meddling executives that we need to tell flattering lies about.
Okay.
Good thing you have your digital copy of the trades.
I have an online subscription to Variety, Us Weekly, People Magazine, all the magazines.
Yep.
You know how they are with magazines now. They're all on the laptop. So our first meddling exec is Michael S.
They were the inventor of the pontoon.
Oh, Settunes Pontoons?
Yep, Settunes pontoons. That's
Settunes? Come on down to Settunes Pontoons.
they are keeping the world afloat.
Yeah. During monsoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Settunes pontoons during monsoons.
During monsoons. Yeah.
Monsoon pontoons.
I'm having an enormous brain fart. What the fuck is a pontoon?
It's like
It's a type of
well,
boat.
let's ask Michael.
Michael, hit us up in Discord. Let us know about your pontoons.
Your pontoon money.
It's a type of boat. That's
like-
all I know.
Like it's
That's as far as I've gotten.
As far
on
as
it.
I got.
think of remember the seabird from the DuckTales.
Seabird, fly home.
No,
Sorry, it had to be done.
from Tailspin. You know the plane.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, a pontoon. Okay.
The encapsulated like pieces of steel that keep
Or in
air.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
The plane at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's what
Those
a
are
pontoon.
pontoons
Oh,
are.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
But
What's
So
a
it's like-
pontoon boat? You're telling me what a plane is.
So you get those.
It's that.
So you take
but
off
on
the
a
plane. You
boat.
take off the plane and you put a boat on top of those.
Yeah. So like I just Googled, and some of these pontoons, especially Settunes pontoons, is basically like just a nice chair in between some pontoons.
Okay,
you know?
okay, all right.
So if for any of your pontoon needs during monsoon seasons, go to Setoon's Monsoon Pontoons. Pontoons?
Setoon's
Pontoons.
Monsoons Pontoons.
Pontoons. Yeah, okay. There you go.
There's also
He'll lift you up.
yes.
He'll keep you afloat.
Keeping us afloat with his generous contribution.
Those pontoon pennies.
Pontoons.
Yeah, he should do a commercial with a Wolfman mascot.
And you Wolfmans out there that don't want to get wet.
They don't. They hate it. Notoriously.
You're gonna wish you had these pontoons when you're in the moors.
Pontoons.
And order now to get a free cane.
You can't forget it. All right. And then our next meddling executive we have is Francois.
Francois makes just the best baguettes. They're the perfect size. They're crispy on the outside, but they're nice and warm and soft.
I heard croissant in my head, and you were like, the perfect size. I was like, this is a big
croissant.
fucking
Yeah,
croissant.
this is croissant.
But yeah, Francois also makes gigantic croissants. You know, like just a
Master
great,
baker.
a
Master baker.
Master baker. Master baker. Just want to be very clear.
Yeah. When we're
And
talking
not
about
Rick
things.
Baker.
Yes.
Yeah. We're talking about
Baker.
things.
No,
Talking
that
about things
was
this long. We're talking about bread.
We're talking about bread. Ian, that was a masturbation joke.
I got it. Got it.
It seemed like you did it.
I was trying to keep it semi-clean.
I see. So yeah, big.
You're the problem, Ray.
This baguette wise, what do you guys?
That's a good sized baguette.
Good baguette size.
Good
Okay, so
baguette.
like big baguettes.
And Francois is personally responsible to make sure that anytime you leave the grocery store, you always have a bag with a baguette sticking out of it
Yes.
with some celery.
Yes.
Yep.
Because that's the aesthetic. Like he wants everyone to know that you just bought a Francois baguette, and it's word of mouth, word of bag advertising. It's like how all baguettes are sold, quite frankly.
Just in the parking. You want a nibble?
Yeah. I really
It's long.
I really hope with their name being Francois that they are French, but also not offended by us being like, oh, he's French, dude's got to do with baguettes. Like,
French people notoriously.
You're the one that went straight there.
I know. Well, that's the word association. Like you think
the
Francois,
name-
French baguette. Like it's just kind of how my mind worked.
Francois, French baguette, croissant.
They're a delicious baker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Much like Rick Baker.
Yes. We would give Francois an Oscar for his baguette artistry.
And his
I'm assuming multiple Oscars enjoy baguettes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Especially dudes named Oscar. You know?
Yeah.
I never met an Oscar who didn't love a baguette.
Oscar the Grouch. Plenty of day-old bread being
Yeah.
thrown
Yeah.
into his bin.
He loves trash, and if it's from Francois Bakery, he's in.
He's all about it. But there's not very often trash from Francois Bakery because everyone just like, no, just gobble up
Yeah,
those
just
baguettes
sold
because they're
out.
so tasty.
Yep.
For sure.
They're
Yeah.
baguettes, and they're baguette-sized croissants.
What about like, you know how they have those like cronuts where it's like a croissant donut? What if you had like a baquant or like a
Croquette.
croquettes?
Well, there's
Ooh,
they're
a croquette.
croquettes.
Croquettes. But this
Can
is
you imagine how,
a
like, having
Baguettes.
something, the 3-foot thing that's just flaking all over the goddamn place?
Honestly-
when you leave the grocery store and Francois puts that one in your
Yeah.
bag and it's just
and you're just doing this.
just constantly.
Just flakes for days. But listen though, I would eat a croissant baguette. That sounds fucking delicious.
That sounds really good.
So,
Yeah, Francois, get on that.
Francois, thank you very much for your baguette bucks.
Yeah.
We appreciate the
For
support.
the bread.
bread.
Yeah.
The bread, the baguette bread. And thank you to all of our meddling executives, as always. If you would like to support us on Patreon and be a meddling executive, you can find us at patreon.com/itwasashitshow.
We'll put it up here.
I'm not doing that.
Now I just look like an asshole.
Yeah. Put it,
I'm gonna put it down.
imagine it's here.
Over my face.
But if you are not a patron, you miss exciting things like we do bonus episodes. And that was actually where we first started kind of experimenting with the video format.
Let us know if the new format you like it or
Yeah.
whatever. And definitely
Let us know
on
in
our
the
Patreon we did a newlywed game. Not for these married couple,
No,
but
we're not
me and Clint had a match.
Yep.
And it went the opposite direction that I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
And to find out more, you have to go to patreon.com/itwasashitshow.
Yep.
Ba-ding.
Give us that bread.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening. It Was a Shit Show is researched and produced by me, Ian Jench. Sound editing and mix by Ray Reynolds. Our theme music is by Ryan K. Hudson. If you're enjoying the show, leave us a review on your preferred podcast player. It does help spread the word. Or you can support us on Patreon and get access to exclusive content and longer versions of the podcast. Find us on social media at It Was a Shit Show, but shit without the I. And if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel.